And I think one of the most interesting things in this book is you talk about a leader leading with love, but also with a firm hand. And I think a lot of leaders have trouble balancing that. How do you do that, in your opinion?
Well, it starts with John Paul Jones, who was the first naval admiral in the Revolutionary War. And he believed that a tenet of leadership is firm, fair, and friendly, but not a friend. Mm-hmm. So firm, fair, and friendly. And leading with love, all these CEOs talk about whether it's love of company, love of customers, love to go to work every day, love your job, love each other, but not romantic love, of course, but Robert Johnson, who started Black Entertainment Television, he talks about parental love, being a little strong sometimes. Because what these guys have to do, and gals have to do, is they have to create a winning culture. They create a winning culture or they keep a winning culture, and they will not allow anybody to stay in the organization, even if the most brilliant salesperson, brilliant marketing man, or whatever, if they're going to be disruptive to the winning culture. So they want people, they have very low turnover, these companies. They have great loyalty and allegiance from their employees, which is also a money-making strategy.
How does a company create a winning culture?
I'm going to talk about that because it's fascinating. Prior to writing this book, prior to interviewing all the top CEOs, I would have thought, if you were to ask me, Robert, how do you turn around a company? What's step one? I would have said step one is focus on the customers, and I'm wrong. All of the transformative CEOs focus first on the culture. And I would say the best I learned from Sen Delaney, who is, they're really the founders of starting this whole corporate culture movement, and now corporate culture is really the number one thing for most companies. The first thing is that culture can be by design or by default. So a culture will happen automatically. What Tony Hsieh of Zappos did is when he was 24 years old, he built a company, Linked Exchange. It sold for $265 million to Microsoft. But the reason he left was because he was unhappy, didn't like the culture. So everything he focused on to build the culture is start at the top. You have to say, what are the values? What will we never capitulate on? And people have to work. Then, once you galvanize everyone, they start focusing, how do we connect with customers? How do we create new customers? And that's what Zappos did. They had no money. They had an obstacle again. And that's what made them say, let's first focus on only the culture. And what our culture will do is care about the customer.
Jim McCann, he's the CEO of 1-800-Flowers.com. He calls himself the culture. He's an engineer of their culture. Yeah. These people are fiercely passionate about making sure that mediocrity does not enter these companies. And they realize that the company and the customers supersede an individual, but the culture, and they know that culture is constantly changing because they have to bring in new people. And they are very open to maverick thinkers. They're open to idea people. And they can be disrespectful of the rules, but not of the culture.
Right.
So there's a difference.
And you talk a lot about, in addition to the culture, about a good CEO being creative. Can you elaborate on that?
I'll give you an example of creativity. Again, an obstacle. Dan Amos is the CEO of Aflac. Mm-hmm. People know the duck, Aflac the duck. And when he made the risky choice of going with Aflac duck commercials versus more pedestrian type, even though the pedestrian type tested high, he took his brand name awareness from 11% to 93%. Well, 75% of their business is in Japan. And right after the tsunami, the spokesperson for the duck voice, made some disparaging remarks about the Japanese. Instantly, they fired the guy. Okay, big problem. Their number one commercial presence, the Aflac duck, no longer had a voice. Creatively, what they did was they made it a PR extravaganza by creating this whole, audition for the voice kind of thing. They had over 12,000 people that auditioned for the new Aflac voice. They've got millions and millions of dollars worth of publicity for it. So they creatively picking the duck in the first place, I think, and then creatively overcoming this problem. So the transformative CEOs are creative on many, many levels. And Arkady Kuhlman, he says that the the CEO going forward has got to be an idea person, has to be a Renaissance man, a Renaissance woman, has to be very creative. They are.
And speaking of becoming a transformative CEO, do you think that's a category for one type of CEO? Like I was discussing with you earlier, my brother, he's a CEO in Australia for our small family business. Can he be transformative if it's not on an international level or a larger scale like some of these people?
Of course. You could be transformative. You could look at Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn, who I remember interviewing him a couple of years ago. He started with just a couple of people. A one-person shop can become transformative. If you're in a company, in a job, your team can become transformative. Here's how I sort of define it. I think there are four waves of management. The first one in America was in 1920s, Alfred Sloan from General Motors created the corporation. In the 1950s, Peter Drucker codified the management role. In the 1980s, the Japanese created the team model. The new model of business, and it could be anyone in any industry, they link purpose and profit together. Everyone wins. They become societal brands. We all win, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. All you have to do is say, how can I say, I want to get from here, I want to go to there, I want to be more successful. And it's like all the answers are really right there.
Right. I mean, for example, a waiter is the CEO of his or her table.
Right.
A truck driver is the CEO of that truck. A cab driver.
Well, New York City.
Cab
I
drivers
grew up
in New
here.
York.
I don't know.
Right.
You didn't grow up here. I did in Manhattan.
They can be mean. I've witnessed that.
But the point though is that yes, you're as long transformative means changing or creating. So if the markets change for that business, if the economies change, if the government does another crazy regulation, that transformative CEO has to deal with that, and can't be ostrichical and put their head in the sand.
Be what?
Ostrichical.
Is that one of the words you make up?
One of the words I make up.
He went to
He likes
Harvard.
to.
No, ostrich-like. I made it up.
I like it. You make up your own words. It's
Oh, yeah.
assertive.
Yeah.
It's good.
But the point is that we need that word ostrichical, don't we?
I like it. I don't know what it means, but I like
It means
it.
you're like an ostrich. You stick your head in the sand and you don't watch what's going on around you. But
It's a good metaphor.
that's the role of the transformative CEO. And every organization, sooner or later, is going to have to transform, without question.
Absolutely. And speaking of, that word you just made up, I really liked in your book how you use metaphors to make the company human, like when a company's sick, and did you write in that way deliberately?
Yes.
Yes.
Because a company is an organism.
It's like a human.
It's got all its moving parts and things like that.
Yeah, I read a book by Larry Ackerman called the Identity Circle, or the Identity Code. I'm sorry, but what it talks about is that individual companies are like human beings. Right. They have the same type of mechanism.
They have rhythms. They have cadence. They grow.
Identity
they decline.
That's the
right.
But the point though is that yes, that's right. If people looked at that's what transformative CEOs do. They nurture their culture.
It's like a human, and they take care of it. And
that's what you said Bob Johnson did when he founded BET, which was a real game changer. He said he took it like being a parent. This is my baby.
Right, exactly.
And finally, I want to finish on knowing who is your favorite CEO, and you must have one.
I'm not. I don't.
I'll tell you what.
Come on.
I'll tell you. I have a favorite chapter.
Okay, what's your favorite?
My favorite chapter in the book
It's
is...
very political of you.
Well, of course. I have 44 CEOs out there that have to buy thousands of these books for every one of their employees. The chapter is called Exude Delight.
Okay.
And it's a little short chapter, probably shorter than most, because, you can read this book, Sally, in a couple hours?
Yes.
And so Exude Delight is about the fact that everybody, when somebody does something good, if you're the transformative CEO, you should be exuding delight. Someone puts a package together correctly, makes a delivery, but there's a 3 or 4 year old kid in the chapter, and every time the teacher gives her something like a lollipop, she goes, "For me!" And therefore she has everybody wrapped around her finger. And when you exude delight as an individual or as a corporation, your customers love it. That they love to go to work in a place where everybody is no one goes to work and says, "I want to screw up today." or to be, just a mope-a-dope. Exude delight is my favorite because of that.
And your favorite CEO is?
And to see, you didn't
No.
give who your favorite CEO. Well, who's your favorite person interviewing? Us.
You two.
Of course.
You two.
So then you're the CEO of this show, and you're our favorite.
Right, there we go. We're both political. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming in and joining us today.
Thank you. It's great.
I'm Sally Turner for IB Times TV.